In this session, we will be talking about Amazon advertising and more specifically how you can stop wasting money and to target how you can target the right customers with your Amazon advertising campaigns. And our guest today is Chris Rawlings from Sophie Society. And yeah, let's invite Chris. Hello, Chris.
What's up, brother? What's up, guys?
Yeah. So we will go very quickly to the content. I wanted to make sure that everybody can hear us. Leave us some comment that you hear us well and see us well. And yeah, if you at any time during this session have questions, leave them in the comment section below or in the live chat if you're watching live. So before we proceed with the content, maybe Chris, let us know more about yourself and yeah, what you do and how do you help Amazon sellers.
Yeah. I've been an Amazon seller since 2015. So I've been on the platform a long time. It's a dinosaur in Amazon years. I partner with brands, take over their PPC and grow them profitably. I've been doing that for 7 years. So Sophie Society is a PPC partner. And we've been doing it long enough. We're now one of the single top spenders of Amazon ads on the platform. So we spend over 3 million every month on Amazon ads across our portfolio. And all the strategies I'm going to share today are from not me, but my genius team, who's always testing new things and trying out stuff. And today we're focusing 100% on specifically strategies to lower ACoS. So there are other strategies to like increase ranking. There are other strategies to grow really aggressively. Today's strategies are solely focused on low ACoS campaign types and low ACoS strategies. And we're going to go through 5. So pretty excited. Should be pretty awesome.
Yes, amazing. So yeah, I think yeah, let's not delay anymore. And while Chris is sharing his screen, I wanted to mention again, like that during the presentation, you're welcome to shoot your questions. If you're watching the replay, ask those questions in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content we create. And I see already the slides, and we're good to go.
Sweet. Let's rock and roll, guys. So we're talking about low ACoS PPC campaign types. And we're going to go through 5 particular strategies. Maybe some of you guys have heard of some of them, but likely you haven't heard of all of them. I'm also going to give you guys 2 bonus strategies at the end that are just little extras that you can do to increase profitability. And we're focused solely on low ACoS. So some of these strategies, they might not produce like a huge amount of sales, but they produce profitable sales. So, and when you combine them, you can actually have a pretty dramatic difference in the profitability of your whole account. So I'd highly recommend, maybe you've never heard of any of them. Maybe you've heard of 1 of 2 of them. Whichever ones you haven't implemented, implement them in combination, and you will see a dramatic difference in your overall account profitability. So if profitability and ACoS are 2 of your big concerns right now, you're in the right place. And I'm going to go really, really quickly. So I'd recommend that you guys like shut down your Chrome tabs, not check your phone, because if you like divert your attention even for like a minute, you'll lose it and you won't see the how-to, because I'm breaking down, what the strategy is, what some of the results are, and how to do it for each of these. And we're going to go through really, really quickly so that we have time for any questions and comments at the end as well. And I'm going to give you guys a chance to get a resource that allows you to review on your own time stuff. And that'll be closer to the end. Cool. All right. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm not going to do any preamble or story or why or anything. I'm going to assume you guys are already motivated to learn this stuff and I don't have to like spend any time hyping you up. So let's get right into it. The first strategy that we're getting into is called scavenger campaigns. This campaign type has been around for a while. It's gone in and out of vogue. Most recently inside our company, in our portfolio, we had 2 advocates that kind of brought it back to the forefront and kind of spearheaded how to make it work now in 2025. That's Ignacio and Juana, 2 of my great team members at Sophie Society. And what these are basically really low bid, low volume sales campaigns. So the point is to capture really low ACoS sales during periods of time where competitors run out of budget or are less active or have paused their ads. And you're kind of just waiting for the perfect storm of all competitors like not bidding, which happens. This happens it doesn't happen frequently, but it happens on Amazon. And this type of campaign just basically runs 24/7, just waiting for that to happen. So I'm going to show you how to set it up in a second. But basically the concept is you're creating campaigns with a very, very low bid. The bid should be about 10% of the suggested Amazon suggested bid, or 10% of your average cost per click. So your bid might be 5 cents, it might be 10 cents, it might be 20 cents, something like that, but it's going to be very, very low. It depends on the category. So some categories have an average bid of like $3 or $4. Some categories have an average bid of 30 cents. So you're going to have to test it based on your category, but a good benchmark is somewhere around 10% or even less of the average CPC or Amazon suggested bid. So here's how you create it, and then I'm going to show you guys some examples. And some of these examples are crazy. Like we have campaigns that produce 1% ACoS with this campaign type. Again, it's not a huge volume of sales. It's never going to be your top selling campaign, but the ACoS can be like comically low. Like I said, 1%. I actually just released a YouTube video on this. For any of you guys that want to dive deeper, you can check that video out. It's on my YouTube channel. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to go into sponsored products. You're going to click create campaign. You're going to add all of your products to the campaign. If you have like thousands of products, that's different. You'll add all the products in a certain category or certain grouping. But most of you guys probably don't have thousands of products. You just literally add all the products to the campaign. And then you're going to use keyword targeting. And then inside keyword targeting, you're basically going to just add all of Amazon's suggested keywords and add all of Amazon's suggested keyword categories. Set dynamic bids down only. Set the bid to about 10% of Amazon's suggested bid. And by the way, if this doesn't work, you're getting absolutely 0 impressions after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, you can up the bid because maybe you started too low. And if the suggested bids are already low, sometimes you have to set it a little bit higher than 10% of Amazon's suggested bid. But that's a good benchmark, 5 to 10% of the suggested bid. The point isn't to be like, pushing for impressions here. The point is this campaign just sits and waits around until all your competitors have run out of budget and nobody's bidding. And then boom, they activate. And I'm actually going to show you guys a breakdown of how this looks on a placement level too. So, and by the way, guys, again, if you're like a little bit newer in the journey and I get a little too technical for you, just stick with me. Don't tune out because I'm going to give you a resource at the end that shows you a step-by-step breakdown of how to set up all the best types of campaigns on Amazon. So I'm going to give you guys that resource. So just stick with me. Don't worry about taking notes or Googling things or anything like that. You'll get a great resource at the end. So here's one example of a campaign like this, where we're selling cupcake wrappers. Our average ACoS was 51%. But these scavenger campaigns had an average ACoS of 9%. So you can see we spent $90 on ads to get $1,058 in sales here. So not bad, right? Here's how that looks on a placement level. Top of search produced the best ACoS at 1%, but it was only 2 sales. Rest of search produced 6% ACoS with 65 sales. And product pages produced 11% ACoS with 17 sales. So you can see the actual star performer here was rest of search in this example, but top of search produced the best ACoS. Why is that? The reason is because this is the most competitive placement. Top of search is where right below the search bar, after somebody searches a search term, it's the first results that they see. Those are the top of search ads. So they're really competitive, but they're also competitive because of the fact that people who click them are very high intent. They happen to have the highest click-through rates and the highest conversion rates by far, by like an order of magnitude, or by like at least 5x usually. So it's rarer for these placements to become available to low bid campaigns, but when they do, they can perform really well, as you can see here. 1% ACoS, that's crazy. Okay, here's another one where the average ACoS for the whole account is 57%. These scavenger campaigns were getting a 14%. We spent $99 on ads to get $703 in sales. Here's the breakdown. This time we got none of top of search. Rest of search was an average ACoS of 1.3%. And then product pages were an average ACoS of 16%. Here's another one. This is the one I was referring to of 1% ACoS. We spent $16 in ads to get $1,500 in sales. So pretty good return on ad spend there. The whole account ACoS average was 21% in this case. Our scavenger campaigns were getting 1% ACoS. Again, you're going to see like, $1,500 in sales compared to $95,000 in sales for the rest of the account during the time period. It's not a huge portion of the sales, but those sales are super profitable. And if we didn't have these campaigns, we wouldn't have them at all. So it's basically like $1,500 of just essentially free sales. Like 1% ACoS is like as close to organic, as close to like free as you could possibly get in Amazon ads. It doesn't get much lower than that. Here's how the breakdown looked in terms of placements. Again, top of search produced the lowest number of sales, but again, it was the highest or the best ACoS, followed by rest of search, followed by product pages in terms of ACoS, then rest of search. But rest of search again was the winner because it produced the most orders at a really low ACoS. Cool. So that was strategy number one. Just to quickly go back, I don't know if I ran through these. Yeah, so these are the 5 strategies we're going through. Scavenger campaigns is what we just did. Then simple day parting, then new audience targeting. Then we're going to handle step campaigns and then fractal campaigning. And we're going to do 2 bonus strategies at the end. Sorry, I forgot to cover that with you guys. Just so you know what to expect. Okay, so simple day parting. Some of you guys probably haven't implemented day parting because you think it's too complex. This is another thing. I have a whole YouTube video on this that I released a couple of weeks ago that goes really deep into this topic. So if any of you guys are interested in finding out more about that, you can just search my YouTube video. Just search Chris Rawlings on YouTube. You'll find my channel and you'll see my day parting video. It's very easy to spot. So day parting is basically when you're scheduling or even manually adjusting bids and or budgets during different times of day or different days of the week to optimize performance based on how your product converts at these times of day or these days of week. So what you have to do firstly is get the data about how your products are performing during different times of day or during different days of the week. And then you use that data to change your bids during the times where you're performing best or where you're performing worst. So this is something that people kind of think is going to be their like saving grace and just magically improve their account. And I'm not going to say that it won't do that because it actually can have dramatic impacts on some brands. But for most of the time, this isn't like the first thing you want to try. If you don't know whether your click-through rate or conversion rate are above benchmark for your space, meaning above average, if you don't know that your click-through rate is above average and your conversion rate is above average, or you know that it's below, then this is not the first thing to try. You only want to get to day parting once you've optimized your campaigns, optimized your click-through rate and conversion rate, and have verified that both your click-through rate and conversion rate are above average for the page 1 competitors in your space. If you try to do this before you've optimized those things, you've got it all mixed up. You're doing things in the complete wrong order. It'd be like, buying like a super expensive car before you even have like a driver's license or even know how to drive. Like you need to learn how to drive first and then you can get the car. So it's not something to try right away because you need enough data to be able to analyze to figure out what to do in your day parting strategy. And it's not something to do if you haven't optimized everything else first. So all that said, it can produce really good results. So right around here is where we started day parting for this product. And we did it kind of out of desperation. We ended up jumping the sales from around like 10 a day to over 30 a day. And we got to like 50 a day actually, through day parting as one of the primary strategies that we used. And we were really struggling up until this point when we kind of out of desperation started day parting. So we're able to increase sales pretty dramatically. This is a brand in our portfolio managed by my good buddy Zoki, who's been with me on my team for a long time. So it can have dramatic results. And this is not the only brand that we've had results like this for as well. You can see the ranking improvement as well, because when your ad spend starts to be more efficient at producing sales leaner, then you get more sales from the same amount of ad spend. And those more sales can produce like a positive reinforcing feedback loop where that gains you more ranking, which gains you even more sales, which is what happened in this case. So the day parting was kind of just like the last kind of, twig that broke the camel's back, so to speak, where we worked on optimizing other things. And finally, using day parting, we made our ad spend more efficient, which allowed us to get more sales out of our ad spend, which caused us to rank better for our keywords. And it just bumped us right up. So the brand was kind of waiting for it. And this was like the last strategy that really tipped it over the edge. That's what I'm saying. You got to make sure you have everything else in place first. So there are two main ways to do day parting. One is manually or using Amazon's bidding and budgeting rules. And the other, which is more sophisticated, is using a tool like Adtomic or Perpetua, or in our case, we use AdLabs. And in that case, you kind of see visually what times of day work best, and you can make the rules based on that. But if you don't have that, it's not hard to do this analysis. It only takes about 15 minutes. It involves setting up pivot tables in Google Sheets. So if the word pivot table scares the shit out of you, don't worry, because this type of pivot table is actually very easy to set up. And again, I'm not going to screen share through exactly how to do this analysis because it does take about 15 minutes. But you can check the YouTube video on my channel, which walks through it step by step and even provides a sheet with a pre-completed version of that for you to utilize when you're doing your own day parting analysis. So for those of you guys that are interested in this tactic for lowering ACoS on your brands and getting more sales out of the same ad spend, this is kind of what it looks like. You can see the times of the day that you're converting worst and the times of the day that you're converting best. And a lot of times, like in this case, it shows like a very clear picture, right? And so you're going to use that data to set up your bidding rules and or budgeting rules. And the simplest version of this is just days of the week. So that's actually one of the main things that we did in that first little case study example that I showed you guys, is we used we called it week parting. We actually just lowered the bids and budget during the weekends because people were not converting during that time. So we were just spending on clicks and people weren't converting. That's not going to be the case for every brand. That was, particular to this brand. And we only found that out by looking at the data. So the steps here are: download your reports, create a pivot table so that you can see them in terms of hour of the day, check the conversion and click-through rate, look for patterns that are clear. If you don't have clear patterns and you think, it seems like maybe it's converting better at 4 p.m., you don't have an opportunity. It's going to be very clear. And you'll see in the YouTube video, if you guys Google that later, what I mean by that. When you color code it like this, it becomes very clear if there's an opportunity. It's just like red for 4 hours straight, green for 4 hours straight. And it's like, oh, wow, like I get way more conversions, way higher click-through rate during this period of time. That's when you know you have an opportunity, and it does probably make sense for you to explore day parting. Cool. So I'm going to have to just jump through this really quickly because we have too many other things to cover. But like I said, if you want to know the how step by step, just check out that YouTube video. It only takes 15 minutes. It's on my channel. Okay. This one's super exciting. This is fairly new within the last 2 months. This is a new type of targeting that Amazon released in sponsored products called audience targeting. And it went under the radar because it's not actually under the targeting section when you're setting up a new campaign. It's under the bidding section. So under bid adjustments, Amazon now allows you to increase the bid automatically for particular audiences. What's an audience? Well, I'm going to show you that in a second, but it's not audiences in the way you think of, like people who like cars or golfing enthusiasts. It's audiences that Amazon created, like people who are highly likely to purchase your product based on the data we have on them, or people who have added your product to their cart. So these are actually really highly valuable audiences. And we've had great success testing this. Sometimes it works, not all the time, but sometimes it works. And when it does, it can work really well. We used this new targeting to launch a new product in one of our beauty brands. And this product launch went really well. It was super profitable. There were other things that led to the successful launch of this product. But when we launched this, it like quadrupled the sales of the entire brand because the launch went so well. And this audience targeting was a big part of that. So here's another view of the launch. The ACoS was 36%, which is absolutely crazy in the category of beauty. For any of you guys who have any experience in beauty, doing a new product launch in beauty with an ACoS of 36% is basically unheard of. Because in beauty, since it's consumable, most of the time people are willing to pay 100%, 120%, 150%, 180% ACoS because they know the repeat purchases will come into play. So the cost per clicks tend to be very high. The ACoS tends to be higher up front. The TACoS tends to be low over time, and it can get really low actually if you rack a lot of repeat purchases, but the ACoS tends to be high. So the fact that we got a 36% ACoS on a new product launch in beauty, it's like a miracle, right? And this was part of it. So you could see in these campaigns, the way we do our naming convention, if we do the audience bid adjuster, which is this new strategy I'm telling you guys about, we say AU and then the percentage that we used for that bid adjuster. And I'm going to show you how to create it step by step in a second, but just so you see some of the results of these campaigns, we used an audience bid adjuster on this, the top selling campaign. The third top selling campaign, we used an audience bid adjuster on it of 50%. The fourth top selling campaign, we use the fifth top selling campaign, we use an audience bid adjuster of 15%. And this campaign down here as well, we use an audience bid adjuster of 30%. And these campaigns did really well. And you can actually see how that particular placement is doing. So it proves that it does in fact work. And I'll show you guys a screenshot of that. But first, how you set this up is go to sponsored products, click one of your products, scroll down to the bid adjustment section, click audiences, and then click increase bids for audiences built by Amazon. Then you see these three options: high likelihood to purchase based on recent shopping activity, clicked or added brand's product to cart, or purchased brand's product. So one is basically Amazon telling you we've already collected a group of shoppers who are likely to purchase your product based on all the data we have about them. The other is Amazon saying they added the product to their cart, but they didn't purchase it. You guys might be familiar with this based on your ability to target these people with brand tailored promotions, very similar to that. And then finally, it's retargeting people who have purchased your product, which is something you could never do in sponsored products before. So the reason I call this targeting, not a bidding strategy, is because even though it shows up in the bid adjustment section, it is actually a type of targeting. If you put a bid adjuster on one of these, you're targeting those people more strongly than you are other people. And so the best strategy to use with this is not to start with a crazy bid adjuster of like 500% or something. You start with a bid adjuster of 20%, 15%, 30%, and then you could try to amp it up as you see it performing. So to see if it's performing, you go to the campaign, click bid adjustments, and over here you'll see audiences, and you just click audiences. And then you'll see how that placement performed compared to the campaign as a whole. So you can see in this case, we got a 21% ACoS on these ones that we were bid adjusting versus a 31% ACoS on the campaign as a whole. So it worked. If we didn't do this bid adjuster, we would have a 31% ACoS. But because of this bid adjuster, we got sales at a 21% ACoS. And it was not insignificant. The campaign in a total over this period of time, this month, got 280 sales. And that bid adjuster placement got 68 sales. So pretty significant, somewhere around a quarter. So it's not a super small amount of sales, right? You can actually drive significant sales revenue through this bid adjuster. I will say it doesn't always work. We have tested it during periods on products where it didn't provide much gain, but it also didn't hurt. And more than half of the campaigns we've tested it on, it actually is working pretty well. We just went over this past Thursday, a couple days ago, in our internal mastermind, and there were tons of stories from all of our different brands of bid adjust, of using this particular one, highly likelihood to purchase based on recent shopping activity, and getting lower ACoS sales from it. So I recommend you guys try it out. You may or may not have access to it. Some brands actually don't have access to it yet. Amazon's rolling it out slowly, but just check in your sponsored products under bid adjustments and you'll see whether or not you have access to it. And if you don't, create a ticket with Amazon and request access. Cool. All right, next strategy. We call these step campaigns. We've been doing this for about 2 years. I'm going to show you the results of this, but essentially what it is it's super highly profitable campaigns that produce a low volume of sales. So, and what it does is it kind of glitches Amazon's system where you tell Amazon to do something that they can't do, which is to show your product only in one place, which is on your own products page. And Amazon won't show your product ad on that very same product's listing. So it kind of glitches Amazon and it forces them to show it other places. And where it shows it is basically effectively retargeting. So it shows your ad to people who have landed on your listing. And because of that, it has very low ACoS, but because that's not a very big group of people, you know, in targeting a keyword, you might get like, you know, hundreds of thousands of impressions. Targeting only people who have landed on your listing, that's like in the hundreds, right? So you're not going to get a huge volume of sales from this. I'll show you guys some results, but the sales that you do get tend to be really low ACoS. We have campaigns that get 8% ACoS, 11% ACoS, 5% ACoS with these campaigns with a low volume of sales. But again, you combine these strategies all together and you end up having a significant impact on the profitability of your whole account. So STEP campaign stands for self-targeted product placement campaign. So you're targeting yourself and you're targeting your product, the product listing. So to create it, you go to sponsor products, click manual targeting, click product targeting, click exact, and then enter your own ASIN. And that's it. So you enter the very same ASIN that you're advertising in here. So it's like Inception, right? I'm advertising my own ASIN on my own ASIN. So it's the same ASIN that you're advertising, one ASIN product, same ASIN target. And here's some examples. We got this campaign that had an 8% ACoS. You see how many sales there? $12,000 in sales. So that's actually not that insignificant, right? This is over an entire year, but still $12,000 in sales at 8% ACoS. I'll take it. This is a little screenshot of how this type of ad works. So say I click on a listing and I'm a shopper, right? And I scroll around the listing, but it's an expensive product. So I'm going to check search results more and look at some other listings. I'll see that ad pop up at a certain point after I've already visited the listing. So that's one of the ways in which this ad works. Here's another campaign. We got 5% ACoS sales here. And again, this actually isn't so insignificant, $72,000 in sales. Now, this is across the entire lifetime of the brand, of the campaign, but still really good ACoS, 5% ACoS. This one had a 5.8 ROAS, which is, what is that? Something like a 16 or 17% ACoS. This one had, I have to wait till I scroll over here because this is a GIF. Oh, this is the one that I was saying that had a 8% ACoS. This is the same one. Yeah, 12.3 ROAS. This one here, we spent $2,000 in ads to get $16.8 thousand in sales, 7 ROAS. So that's somewhere like 12 or 13% ACoS. So yeah, recommend you guys test that out. If you haven't tested it out before, it's called the STEP campaign. Again, if you want to go deeper in that, I have a video on it on my YouTube channel. It's called This Inception Campaign, something. It has the word Inception in it. So that's how you'll find it. And the thumbnail has Leonardo DiCaprio on it. That's an easy way to find it. Got a high click-through rate on that one. Cool. Okay, here's the next strategy. And this strategy is less of like a campaign hack and more of a framework to use on your PPC in general. We call it fractal campaigning. And the basic mindset of it is you identify your current best performing campaign. So go through open up your ad console, look at all your campaigns for a given product, find the best performing one. And then literally all you're going to do is ask, how can I do more of what's working here? So if it's a keyword that's performing well, how can I get more out of that keyword? If it's a product target that's converting well, how do I get more of that product? If it's a creative that's working well, how do I get more of that creative? And you're just going to fractally go in to figure out how to do more of what's already working. So one way to do this is if you see that a search term is getting a high click-through rate and providing a lot of sales, tailor your primary image to that term. So if you're already doing really well and you want to do even better, we did this during a new product launch here for a product that's a Lazy Susan for a kitchen. And you can see the click-through rate here was like around 0.7, 0.8%. We used the ad data to see what keywords were converting and what keywords were most important to the shoppers. We used that to change the primary image, and you could see the click-through rate jumped way up. It almost doubled from us doing that because we looked at the campaigns and figured out, okay, what can we do better? That allowed us to rank number 4 for this position on a keyword that was really important to us. Here's another way to do it. If I see a keyword's performing really well in sponsored products, I can create a campaign in sponsored brands with a creative dedicated to the intent behind that keyword. So in sponsored products, if I have a keyword, so this is real data here. So this is a broom product in our portfolio. We saw the keyword push broom outdoor heavy duty was an important keyword. This is one of the things that pops up in Amazon suggested when you type in push broom. So it tends to get a lot of search volume because of that. Our cost per click was $2.37. It was a really important keyword, very clear buyer intent with the heavy duty aspect of it. And so we decided to launch it in sponsored brands with actually showcases what they're looking for, which is the heavy duty component of it. We're showing all the the stainless steel components and the hardwood and the grip and all that stuff. And the CPCs in sponsored brands were $1.64 versus the $2.37 that we were getting in sponsored products. Another example of this is utilizing that keyword data based on the campaigns that are performing well and the keywords that are important to us to optimize the primary image, similar to the other example I showed you guys. We optimized it right here, and you can see what happened to the click-through rate. It just took off immediately. And again, it was like doubled, almost more than doubled at certain points. And we just focused on the grip and the made in USA, the two things that the data shows are clearly important to the shoppers that are searching for this. So big win there. Here's another example. Saw a keyword working really well in sponsored products. Started a creative in sponsored brands with the exact same keyword using a creative that matches the buyer intent. You can see the creative here. And the ACoS we were getting, which was already good for us in sponsored products, was 36%. We got the ACoS to 15% in our sponsored brand ads. So two big ways to do this are look what's working well in one ad type, put it into another ad type. Look what's working well with one keyword and figure out how to make a creative campaign dedicated to that keyword buyer intent. And then use the keyword data to figure out what you could change about the primary image to get more clicks. Here's another example, Mead Kit, $1.72 cost per click in sponsored products. This sponsored brand campaign got a cost per click of 82 cents versus $1.72. Big difference. Here's another example, very same search term, flea treatment cat. We got $1.28 cost per click in sponsored products and 72-cent cost per click inside sponsored brands using this creative. This is super easy creative. Literally, there's no live shots. It's all just stock and the product itself. So you don't always have to get a live shot ad for it to work well. You can see we got an 18% ACoS on this. Here's another one, like water bottle holder, $1.16 ACoS in sponsored products, 90-cent ACoS in sponsored brands. Here's another one, $1.28 CPC versus $1.20 CPC. So this one actually wasn't a huge difference, but it allowed us to expand the amount of sales that we were getting from a particular campaign that worked well. Here's some more examples of the primary image optimization using the ad data. So using the ad data, we found out what was important to these people. It was like the eucalyptus, the smell, and how many were included. We just altered the primary image to match the buyer intent. The click-through rate went from 0.67 to 1.0. So a huge difference there. This is the example that we shared before. We went from a click-through rate of 0.5 to 3% by, again, just analyzing the ad data, seeing what's important. And you could see the after image is actually quite a bit uglier than the before image in this case. It's not as visually appealing, but it collected more clicks because we were simply matching what we saw in the ad data was important to shoppers based on the campaigns we were running. And it made all our campaigns more effective. This is that same example I showed in the very beginning where we updated the primary image. That arrow is in the wrong spot. It should be right here. And increase the click-through rate significantly. This one, click-through rate went from 1.2 to 2.0. This one went from 0.2 to 0.6. That's triple. This one also tripled and went from 1 to over 3. This one went from very low to higher, still volatile, but significantly higher. Just not enough data to get an average. So there's a lot more ways to do that. The basic concept is just go into the campaigns that are working best, figure out how you could make them perform even better. So what buyer intents are searching this that should be clicking but aren't? What buyer intents that are searching this are high volume and they're clicking, but we could make them click at a higher rate or convert at a higher rate? How can I make a dedicated creative based on this shopper intent of this keyword that's really important to me in sponsored products and move it over to sponsored brands and even sponsored display? That's the basic concept there. And it's more of a framework than it is, a specific hack, but this is something that all you guys should be doing. Okay, cool. So that's all 5. 2 bonuses I'm going to share, and then we'll get into any questions or comments that you guys have that for those of you guys that are watching live. So the first bonus is business targeting. So we use these strategies to change our weekly business B2B units, our monthly B2B units from 515 units to 1,000 units. So we doubled our B2B purchases, and these B2B purchases are much more profitable. So doubling our B2B purchases increase the profitability of our account. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on your brand. But I will say, even if you think your brand is not a business, quote unquote, brand, like you're not selling, in this case, printer paper or, desks or chairs or something like that, it doesn't have to be an office product to be a business product. People run events and they need like decorations for their events. There's all kinds of different business buyers, restaurants, event hosts, all different types of businesses. You don't know if your product is applicable to businesses until you try. I used to have a spinal health products brand that I used to get a ton of business purchases from people who ran fleets of cars, for like rental cars and commercial vehicles. And they would get these spinal health products for their staff in orders of like 40, 50, 100, 200 units. And they were super profitable, right? Because it's like one ad click and, then the rest of the units are just gravy. So this is what business shoppers see. They see a different thing if they're registered as a business shopper than other people. They see this little blue tag that shows them if they get a discount on this particular product or if there's bulk discounts on the product. And you don't get that if you don't set this up. So here's also what they see. They see the business price once they click the listing. And they also see volume discounts when they click the listing. So if you don't set these things up, these business buyers that are clicking on your listing are thinking, oh, these guys aren't geared towards business buyers. So I'll check something else. So you're just missing out on them if you're not doing it. So there's also specific sale days for business buyers. Amazon is leaning really hard into the B2B stuff now. They're adding all kinds of features to the campaigns, and they're really pushing the business buyer stuff. And there's a reason they're doing that. So this is definitely the time to do it. So to set it up, log into Seller Central, click on the settings wheel in the top right corner, click on account info, then click on account overview in the left sidebar, select manager services, select Amazon B2B, and then click on enroll. Now you're enrolled. You got to set up your business pricing. So go to your inventory, select preferences, And then you'll see in there business price. You got to check that box. Once that's checked, you'll see business price in here next to your normal price. And you can put in some kind of discounted price for businesses. It doesn't have to be a huge discount, but it just makes them feel like they're getting a deal. Then underneath that, you'll see quantity discounts. And that's where you can put in discounts for a particular quantity. So buy 2, get $5 off, buy 5, get $10 off, buy 20, get $20 off, whatever that is. And again, it doesn't have to be huge. It's completely up to you what you want to set these as. The main most important thing is that you just set something in there so that business buyers feel like they're being taken care of and that they're getting a special deal. And then you'll be surprised. You'll be getting these 20, 50 unit orders like out of the blue, which is a good day. Here's where you can really juice this. So in sponsored products under bid adjustments, this only was just added earlier this year. You can click further increase bids across placements on Amazon Business and put a business buyer placement modifier on the campaign. This is definitely something to test, and sometimes it can perform really well. You could see in this case, we have an ACoS of 21% for our business buyer placements. The average for the campaign was much higher than that outside of the business buyer placements. So more things you could do. You could target bulk keywords or business related keywords. You can also up that bid adjuster during the quote unquote business value days. That's like Amazon's special days just for business owners. So you could up those bid adjusters there when you know there's going to be more businesses on the site. And then at the top of sponsored products, you're going to notice you can actually set up a campaign just for Amazon Business. That doesn't include normal Amazon. It's really just a campaign specifically for Amazon Business. Cool. All right. The second bonus is how your ranking is connected with your inventory. So this is like a silent killer that is absolutely demolishing your guys' ranking without you even knowing it. Inventory levels affect rank dramatically, especially once you cross certain thresholds. So once you cross 30 days left in stock, and especially once you cross 15 days left in stock, your rank changes dramatically. So you could see this crazy spike in the rank, and higher is worse in this graph. As the stock is going down, you can see it got down to 0 right here, but right when it was about 20 days from 0, the ranking got way worse. And after it was back in stock, it didn't improve automatically. It got a little bit better, but it didn't go down to the normal pre-stock out levels. So if you're regularly getting close to stock out, you're harming your rank without even knowing it. So you might be like, man, why are my sales going down? I don't even understand this. What's happening? And it's because you're perpetually causing yourself to only have 10 or 15 days of stock in Amazon's warehouses, and they start to derank you. They start to show you less to kind of even out their inventory levels. And they don't care about your product, right? They just care that customers get what they're looking for. So they're going to start to rebalance if they see that you're about to run out of stock, and you can actually see this in the data. Here's another example. In this case, higher is better. So we're ranking number 4. Right when we dip below about 15, 20 days of stock left in inventory, there's just a dramatic drop in our ranking. So if you're wondering why that's happening to you, this could be the reason. And staying in stock is one of the best ways to show Amazon that you deserve to rank. It's kind of like a fundamental thing that if you're not handling it, you're going to have issues all over the place. There are tools that allow you to check your stock levels in different areas, so your geographic ranking can even change. And this is something that you can check with tools like Shirk, which is a tool developed by one of my team members, Richard, where you can see your stock in the different warehouses in the different states. And you might find that your ranking in one state is actually different than your ranking in another state. So even if your rank trackers are telling you that, oh, you're still ranking fine, but you see your sales are lower and you just don't know why, this can be a reason where you're actually still ranking in some of the major states like California, Texas, New York, Florida, but a lot of the states you're not ranking anymore. And Amazon will actually change your ranking in the areas of the country where you aren't getting 1 day or 2 day shipping anymore because your stock, you don't have enough stock to distribute to the different fulfillment centers. So this is a huge deal. It's something to dive into. If you've been having issues and you don't know why, this could be the cause. Cool. All right, sweet guys. Well, I know we went over a lot of strategies. Some of them, I'm sure you guys weren't impressed with like the amount of sales, like when we were talking about some of the new strategies, the scavenger strategies. Yeah, it's a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. But if you combine all these strategies, that's when it actually has a significant improvement in your overall account margin and your overall account profitability. So I recommend you guys to try them all. Like try all these different strategies. And if you're having problems with margin or you just want to have a higher margin, this is a great way to do it. If you're like, I don't know what to do, like my margins are so thin. Well, now you've got a lot to do because all of this stuff is proven and all of this stuff works. Cool. So here's some accounts that we've used these strategies on to increase profit. You can see this is a smaller account where we're doing about 3,000. We boosted the profit to 5,000 within just a couple months, just 2 months actually. Here's another herbal oil product. The profit was at like about 4,000. We boosted it over the course of about 10 months to 16,000. That's profit, again, not revenue. We're talking profitability here. Here's another brand, a home decor brand. It was breaking even, negative profit. We got it to about 20,000 a month in profit. Here's an office supply brand. We got it to 4,000 a week in profit, from negative break even to 4,000 per week in profit. Here's another account we brought from break even up to 40,000 per week in profit. This is a significant sized electronics brand. I won't even name the name, but you guys would recognize them if I said them. We increased the profitability dramatically, even though we didn't change the sales very much. We use these strategies to make the profitability way, way better. And this is an account we changed the profit from 46,000 to 95,000 a month in just 1 month by employing a combo of all of these strategies. So it can have a pretty dramatic impact. If you guys want that resource that I was mentioning before, you can scan this QR code and you can download it. The resource is basically a database of the best campaign configurations that produce the best results, segregated by ad type. So you can see the best campaigns in sponsored products, the best campaigns in sponsored brands, and the best campaigns in sponsored display. We also categorize them based on whether or not they're for the purpose of ranking, or for the purpose of performance and generating profit, or for the purpose of defense, like defending your branded search terms and defending your branded listings, or for the purpose of research, for the purpose of getting new data, like getting new product targets or getting new keyword targets. And all of those campaigns have a step-by-step of how to set them up. And they even have a 2-minute Loom screen sharing through us setting them up, with each and every setting being set up by us live in the Loom. So there's no way to get lost. There's no way to, get off track. It's really easy to set up the campaigns with this resource. I'd recommend you guys get it if you're interested in properly setting up PPC profitably. So scan this QR code. All you have to do is open up the camera app on your phone, point it at this QR code, click the link, and you can download it there. So I recommend you guys do that. Thank you guys for taking the time. If you want anything else, if you have any comments for me, or you want the slides from this presentation or something like that, you can just email hello@sophiesociety.com. This is me and some of my team. This is about a third of my team here. This is where all these insights come from. I'm not making these up out of my head. It's my incredible team that is always experimenting and using these strategies on our portfolio of accounts that really comes up with these insights. So I'd like to credit them. Some of the guys in this picture are some of the guys that oversee the campaigns that I was sharing with you guys today. So big shout out to them. And any of you guys that want to reach out to me, you can do so here. hello@sophiesociety.com, SOPHIESOCIETY.com. And with that, Augustus, we can open it up for questions and comments.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Amazing as always. So many good strategies people can implement, and they're easy and well explained. And I see we have Sakina. He says, thanks for inviting Chris. He's such an amazing teacher. And this person actually shooted several questions. So let's start with the first one. What's the daily, weekly workflow for PPC advertising for ads. That's hundreds of keywords to check for multiple ASINs. Is the manual the only way, or you can automate it?
No, yeah, you can definitely automate a lot of it. So bulk bid adjustments is one way to do that. And using tools like Ad Labs, which is our preferred tool, is a great way to do that in using an interface, so you don't have to learn file uploads, bulk file uploads. You can use a tool like Ad Labs to, you know, hit your targets, whether that's target ACoS, target TACoS, in a much more time efficient way. In general, it's like 2 times a week is a pretty good rhythm to adjust your bid adjusters, your bids, and do keyword graduation, keyword negation, and all of that stuff. If you're in the launch phase, in the first 35 days of the launch, you really want to be doing daily optimizations because things change really quickly in the first 35 days of a launch. But in general, twice a week is a good rhythm. And yeah, you're identifying targets that work and putting them in their own campaigns. You're negating keywords that aren't working well on broad match and auto campaigns. You're adjusting the bid adjusters. You're adjusting the bids themselves. You're creating new campaigns. You're destroying campaigns that are not working well. And then you're doing what I said before, which is fractal campaigning, where you're taking good campaigns and figuring out how to get more out of them. How can I use the same targeting in a different ad type? How can I use this shopper intent and make my primary image connect more with them? So you got to use the ad data to determine actions to take on the brand. And that's something you definitely want to do at least on a weekly basis.
Amazing. Thanks for the answer. And the second question came when you were showing samples of video advertising. So this person is asking, what tools to create video shots do you recommend?
Yeah, so an easy one is Canva. You can edit stuff up in Canva pretty easily. Even if you're not a video editor, Canva has like the easiest video creation template possible. But if you are into video, then you can use Premiere Pro or any of the other tools that are available that are for professionals. And you can get stock video from Adobe and Storyblocks, and there are other resources as well for stock video that you can utilize. Combine that with your product images and use some design in Canva to create a video ad, even if you don't have live shots. But we've literally had video ads that are just like iPhone shooting of the product being used, and that's it, with some like features being shown over top of it. And we've had great performance from those. Not all the time, but sometimes you can get good performance from that. So I wouldn't let budget stop you from trying to run video ads in sponsored brands. It's a really powerful ad type, and it's definitely worth testing out, even if you don't have the budget for like a professional live shot. But there are resources out there that can provide videos for you at a pretty reasonable cost. It's one of the services that we provide when we have PPC partners that need product videos. We give them product videos either at no cost or a very, very, very low cost, just because we know that it's going to help them perform better. So it's something there's definitely no reason not to try it, even if you don't have the budget for a high production shoot.
All right. Next question from Sakina. Does metadata within images work for SEO perspectives? It's a little bit out of today's theme, but I don't know if you know the answer.
It doesn't move the needle. It's not something to really focus on. We've tried to split test this before, and we've never gotten enough data to really know if it's really moving the needle. But I mean, if it's not costing you anything, you might as well. But I wouldn't focus on it because it's not one of the major needle movers.
All right. We have a question from Paul. Does the low or high stock level affect fulfilled by merchant products?
Well, you can set your own stock for FBM products. So that's really like more in your control. It's really the FBA products where Amazon has automatic changing of your ranking once you get below a certain threshold. So that's where you really have to be strategic about how much stock you send in and how often, because it is really frustrating as a seller, right? Like if I have too low stock, Amazon dings me. If I have too much stock, Amazon charges me overstock fees. You have to be right in that sweet spot. And that's why inventory management for a brand is so critical on Amazon right now, because Amazon is just narrowing and narrowing that window of how much stock you should have at any given time and just punishing you in different ways for having too little or too much.
All right. Another question from Sakina. When is the time to decide, or deciding factors to remove ASINs and close PPC campaigns?
Yeah, so if you're unprofitable for months on end, that's then there's likely a problem with the niche or the product or something. The way to know this is whether or not your click-through rate and your conversion rate are above benchmark. So I have a video on my YouTube channel. It says Steal Sales. That's the video. It shows how to find out whether you're above or below benchmark click-through rate and conversion rate for your space. You can easily see it by using the Search Query Performance Report and Product Opportunity Explorer. If you check those and you find that your click-through rate is way below the average for the space, now you know the problem is you or your product. And dumping more money into ads is a bad idea in a case like that, because you're never going to stick the ranking. You're never going to get profitable ads if your click-through rate is way below benchmark and or your conversion rate is way below benchmark. So that's the deciding factor. If your click-through rate and your conversion rate are above average for your space, that are above benchmark, then maybe you're not pushing spend hard enough. And there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. Like if you're spending on ads, but you're not profitable, but you have a higher than average click-through rate and conversion rate, you're in a good spot. You can keep spending and be pretty confident that you will get there and you'll reach profitability. The other factor is if you're in a consumables category like supplements or beauty, these are categories where there's going to be a higher ACoS in general, sometimes significantly higher for a long period of time before you see profitability, because brands that have been on the platform longer are getting a huge amount of their purchases just from their subscribe and save repeat purchases. So they're fine spending way more for that first sale because they know on average they'll get 7 sales from every customer that buys their first product. So since you're competing with those people, even though you don't have repeat purchases yet because you're a newer brand, you're still competing with people who do have repeat purchases. So you have to spend like someone who does. That's why it costs a lot more to launch a consumables brand than a non-consumables brand. But it's also why those brands are worth a lot more in enterprise value when you go to sell them. And it's also why they end up being a lot more profitable in the long run. It's just harder in the beginning stages.
All right, thank you. And the last question from Sakina is, in PPC, can bidding depend on whether you want to scale or want to launch?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So your bidding is going to change based on whether you're focused on profitability or you're focused on growing sales. So during a launch, you're going to be bidding more aggressively because you want to start to drive ranking and you want to drive sales for particular keywords so that you get visibility on those keywords. Once your product is established and you're profitable and you have a lot of reviews, you're likely going to shift your strategy to spend just enough on keywords to not lose your ranking, but you're not super aggressively. You just are spending just enough not to drop ranking. And then most of your campaigns, you're just leaning out to make it as profitable as possible because that's now just a cash flowing asset. And that's what we call the harvest phase. Augustus and I actually have a video on this together where we go through the Amazon product lifecycle. You can find it out. And that has benchmarks for where your tacos should be and where your ACoS should be at the different stages of an Amazon's product lifecycle. So I recommend you guys check that.
Great. Thank you. Sakina says, big thanks for the team and for Chris for such an amazing answers. And
thanks for joining.
Webinar. Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you everyone who is was with us online live and those who are tuning in later to watch the replay. If you still have questions, don't hesitate to write them in the comment section below, and we will ask Chris to respond. And also many answers you can find on Chris Rawlings' YouTube channel, which will also link in the description. All right, perfect. And yeah, if maybe one more time, how do you help Amazon sellers, and how can people reach out to you if they need help from Sophie Society?
Yeah, first of all, thanks guys for joining. Thanks for engaging. And thank you, Augustus, for hosting. This is an awesome session. As always, whenever we get together, we always jive. We're always able to produce a lot of value for these guys, I know. And yeah, for people who are interested in finding out more about what I do, or even partnering with me to take over their PPC using a lot of the strategies that we talked about today, you can just go to sophiesociety.com. And you can fill out this little 30-second type form. It tells us a little bit about your brand, and then we can find out if it actually makes sense to partner to try to grow you profitably with PPC. And that's what we do. That is basically my entire business. I have all the best PPC professionals in the world in Sophie Society. I've been able to collect them because I have a structure that allows them to kind of run their own little companies inside the company. So we attract the best talent because of that, because it allows them like limitless possibilities for themselves and their own path. And so because of that, I was able to get the smartest people in the industry, which is why I'm able to get all these insights and share it with you guys here and on my YouTube channel. So if you want people like that taking over your PPC, I'd love to talk to you. You guys can just go to sophiesociety.com and connect with me there. Amazing.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for great content as well, and see you next time.
Thanks, Augustus. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye. And now I would like to invite you to watch the next video where Chris will show you a loophole that steals sales from your competitors. So check this out.